I'm doing another reading thing because I had way too much fun reading my Final Space stuff last time. And I figured I ought to read my Minecraft story mode stuff too. And I figured which one could I do first than my actual fanfic, which I haven't updated in a while, but there's a reason for that. I had started a new chapter, but then Goldie peed on the Chromebook that I was writing it on, so I lost it all. So yeah, I will continue this eventually. Do not worry. Anyway, so I figured we go ahead and read the chapters that we do have, the 4 chapters. Um, and yeah, and I'm probably gonna read my one shots if I have the time. So let's not waste any more time and get on with it. And there will be a link, hopefully, for you to read the fic. You can read it on my DeviantArt, SonicRaptor08, and on my Wattpad, CopyRaptorWriter08, if you want. I appreciate it. Here we go. It was on a monster hunting trip that Jesse had first noticed. Radar didn't seem to be acting like himself. Even when he was just in Beacon Town, he seemed tired and just out of it lately. He knew something was wrong. Jess and Petra had come back to Beacon Town earlier that day. They thought it would be a good idea to pay a visit, with their new adventures together and all. And Petra thought they could get together and do a little monster hunting that evening. Like the older days, Jess called it. Anywho, that evening they were about to head out. Lucas decided he'd come along too, and there was nothing to do, so Jesse thought that Radar could come too. Which he did, though he'd regret it. Nearly an hour later, they'd been having a blast. Seriously, there were creepers everywhere that night. For what they thought had been only a few minutes, everyone stopped for a minute to catch their breath. But it was then that Jesse realized that he didn't see Radar or Lucas. He figured that maybe they lost the group, so he thought he'd go back and fetch them. I'm gonna find them. Can you girls make a fire or something so we can find you? The two nodded as he ran back. It had only been a few minutes until he found them, but as soon as he was happy to find them, he was completely taken over with concern. Radar had appeared to have collapsed against a tree, and Lucas was knelt next to him. "What's going on, Lucas?" asked the very worried Jesse as he approached the two. "There you are. We were following you guys, and Radar said he needed a man to catch his breath. Tried to ask you guys to stop, but you were already gone." "Yeah, I noticed you two were missing, so I told the girls to set up a fire while I look for you guys." Jesse then turned his attention to Radar. He wasn't just catching his breath. Something was really wrong. "Radar, everything okay?" The shortest male looked up weakly. Jesse saw the tiredness in his eyes. "Mm-hmm. Just tired is all." Poor kid's voice was even more shaken up than usual. Just when he was about to ask again, Jesse felt a drop of rain hit his head, which followed with many more. "Well, that's just perfect," Lucas groaned. Jesse thought he figured this out later. Now he had to get all 3 of them out of the rain. "Come on, guys. Let's meet up with the girls." Lucas helped Radar to his feet, and the 3 set off. Chapter 2. Do. If it'll load. Load, please. Load. There we go. Okay, chapter 2. It was taking longer to find them than Jesse thought it would, and now the casual rain had turned into a roaring thunderstorm. If he had known about this storm, he would have called off the trip for another day. He turned to find his 2 partners still trailing behind, Lucas letting Radar lean on him for support. Jesse knew he had to get them out of the rain. His eyes darted around looking for any form of shelter. Then they laid across a small cave that the 3 could fit in. "We're gonna have to take shelter in that cave until the storm clears. We'll go ahead and get a little firewood." Lucas nodded. Jesse took Radar as they headed toward the cave. It was during that time that Jesse realized that Radar was trembling. Whatever was going on, him being out here was making it worse. Jesse had to get him out of the rain, fast. Once the 2 reached the small cave, they both sat against the stone wall. Jesse couldn't tell who was more exhausted. Since they were alone for a few minutes, Jesse thought he'd try to get Radar to tell him what was wrong. "Radar, I know you're not just tired, so if you're trying to hide it, it won't work. I noticed you've been less perky the past few days, and I've been worrying about you. Please tell me what's wrong." Radar glanced at him, tiredness in his eyes. He sighed meekly, knowing that he couldn't hide anymore, at least from Jesse. "I don't know, I'm feeling a little sick lately." Jesse's concern grew even more at this. Why didn't you tell me you weren't feeling well, buddy? I would have given you a few days off if I had known about it. Radar curled up closer to Jesse, trying to stay warm. I didn't want to disappoint you, boss. He immediately, he immediately followed with a coughing fit. Jesse sighed, holding his young intern close, which then he could feel his trembling was getting worse. Of course you wouldn't disappoint me, Radar. I just want you to be okay. He softly spoke. Radar sighed as he rested his head on Jesse's shoulder, beginning to doze off. Just get some rest, buddy. I'll get you home as soon as I can. Jesse whispered softly, wondering whether or not Radar had heard it. Within seconds, though, Radar had fallen asleep. Jesse felt horrible for dragging the kid out here like this. He knew something was up, but this was worse than he had ever thought it would be. And bringing him here, much less in the middle of a thunderstorm, was making it even worse. Short time skip. After a few more minutes, Lucas finally walked up with a few logs for a small fire, which shortly after had been started and was illuminating the cave, its warmth making almost all elements outside non-existent. So, did you manage to get anything out of him? Lucas asked Jesse, who sighed before responding. Yeah, our kid's been sick for a few days, it seems. Lucas's eyes widened. Poor kid. Jesse looked down at the small figure still sleeping against his side. I feel awful about dragging him out here, Lucas. If I had known he'd been sick this past 2 weeks, I wouldn't have even let him come to work. Don't worry, Jesse. I'm sure he'll be fine once he gets back home and gets some more rest. Lucas calmly said, though he was as worried as Jesse was. The kid was almost like a son to the both of them. Forgot I wrote that, sorry. I couldn't not. Anyway. And he worries about the little guy as much as Jesse does. And I don't know if you guys are sure bonbon, he meowed. Sorry. Jesse suddenly felt the fatigue hitting him as well. It had been a long day. I'll watch him. You get some sleep, Jesse. Thanks, Lucas. Jesse said, beginning to doze off himself. Lucas got up and moved over to Radar, seeing how his trembling he had noticed earlier was a bit worse than before. He sighed. I'm sorry, kiddo, he thought as he took off his beloved jacket and wrapped it around Radar's trembling form, trying to keep him as safe from the elements as he could. It was then that Lucas felt the heat radiating off of him. He gently placed his hand on Radar's forehead. Yep, he has a fever. Lucas grew worried as he sat back down the opposite side of the cave, growing tired himself. After almost another hour of watching, Lucas had drifted off to sleep as well. Okay, chapter 3. These are like short chapters, but this fic is loved. The storm didn't stop until early the next morning. At that time, Jesse had woken. It took a moment to remember where he was. But when he looked down to his left to see Radar still sleeping next to him, he sighed softly. Now he remembered. Jesse? Lucas said softly. Jesse turned to him. I thought last night about what's been going on with him, and it hit me. Silence filled the air for what seemed like forever. You recognize these symptoms, don't you, Jesse? Jesse sat there thinking about it. He looked down at Radar. Then he realized this was so similar to when Petra had... There you guys are. The two turned to see Jess and Petra at the entrance. At least they were okay. We were so worried about you guys, but we knew it wasn't a good idea to go out there in that storm last night, so we thought we'd look for you as soon as it cleared. The two males stayed silent, trying not to worry the girls about what was going on. Is he okay? Jesse's twin sister asked, looking at Radar. Well, so much for that, Jesse thought, frustrated. He's just not doing so hot, Lucas replied, trying not to worry too much. Jesse, though, could see the worry on his sister's face. She loved the kid as much as he and Lucas did. We could probably get him to my place. It's closer than Beacon Town is, Lucas suggested. The three nodded in agreement. Oh, sorry. Allergies. Alright. They've been walking for a good 20 minutes. Petra had been carrying Radar even though he weighs practically nothing. Though he may have been even lighter because of his condition. No matter how impossible Jesse thought it could be. It seemed like the kid hasn't even been eating. Oh god, I love this bit. Sorry. I just love what I write sometimes. Alright, anyway. Radar would occasionally fidget or softly whimper in his sleep, and Petra would try to calm him. Don't worry, little guy, he'll be okay. Jesse had to admit he had never heard Petra speak in such a soothing voice before. Go crazy, people. Sorry. Alright, guys, my place should be just over this hill, Lucas announced. Jesse felt a bit relieved when they were almost there. He wanted the kid to be out of this wet swamp, which was definitely not helping him. Okay, next chapter, and this is the last one that I've done. Again, I had a beginning of chapter 5, but that Chromebook got ruined, so I lost all that. Sorry, but this will be updated soon. Okay, here we go. Lucas slowly opened his front door, his pet ocelot greeting him immediately. Hey girl, can't play right now, this is urgent. With a disappointed meow, she turned and walked away. He knew he was getting walked on tonight for that. Where do you want him, Lucas? Petra asked. We can just bring him to my guest bedroom. Follow me. He led her down the hall, leaving the two siblings behind. Bro, Jesse snapped out of his thoughts when his sister tried getting his attention. He turned to her, trying to mask the concern. Yeah? Are you sure Radar's gonna be okay? He could hear the sadness and concern in her voice. He didn't want her to worry about it too much, but that wasn't going well so far. She stared at him, waiting and wishing for a good answer. I'm sure he'll be, Jess. I'll get Radar to come up. Okay, sorry, I messed that up. Okay, let me read it again. I'm sure he'll be fine, Jess. I'll get Ivor to come over and figure out what exactly is wrong. Will that help you feel better? He just gets a warming hug in response, so he took that as a yes. He hugs back. Time skip. About an hour later, Petra, Jess, Jesse, and Lucas were waiting anxiously for word from Ivor, who had been checking on Radar for a while now. At least Ivor wasn't busy, right? Petra commented, breaking the silence of the room. Yeah, Jesse sighed, not taking his eyes away from the direction of the hallway. Don't worry, Jesse. I'm sure whatever it is, he'll be fine soon, Lucas said. Jesse continued staring down the hall. I hope so. Another 10 minutes passed. Hey, Lucas, you got any spare food? Yeah, Jesse. Down the hall, first room on the left, the chest in front, as you walk in. Thanks, I'll be back. Jesse got up and headed down the hall. It wasn't a few more seconds before Ivor entered the room the other three were waiting in. How is he, Ivor? Jess questioned anxiously. Well, I didn't want to believe what I was seeing, but I knew it from you, Petra. He glanced toward her. Once it sank in, the three knew exactly what he was implying. And it brought a tear to Jess's eye. You mean? She asked, voice breaking slightly. Ivor only nodded. Little did the three know, Jesse was listening the whole time. Sorry, I'm getting good music. This is the music that I always think of with this bit. This is the music that I think of every time I read this bit. And it's fitting, okay, if you read it the right time. The door into Lucas's bedroom slowly opened, light illuminating the dark room. Jesse being the one opening it from the other side. The light of the hallway reaching the bed. Jesse slowly enters the room, not even bothering to switch on the light, walking up to the bed which Radar was asleep in. Even in the still, dim room, Jesse could still make out how bad Radar looked. In fact, he looked worse than earlier. I'm so sorry, Radar, he whispered quietly, holding Radar's trembling hand. He didn't want to believe what Ivor was saying, but he had to find out for sure. Jesse carefully grabbed the sleeve of Radar's shirt, slowly lifting it up his arm, begging that he wouldn't see what he was sadly expecting to see. His eyes went wide as tears formed immediately. Jesse sobbed softly, still holding Radar's hand. Ivor and Lucas were right. Radar had the weather sickness. And that is all that I've written? Jesus. Okay, anyway. So hopefully there will be an update to that fix soon. I apologize for everyone who's been waiting on an update. Again, I had the beginning of Chapter 5 going, but Goldie peed on the Chromebook, so yeah, it's dead, and I lost it. So anyway. If you like this and anything I do, become part of the Raptor Pack today and subscribe. Like the video, comment telling me what you liked about it. Hit the bell so you know when stuff's happening. Okay. Stay coffee, Raptor Pack. Bye-bye.